The movie begins with a man who is a drug dealer. He has many people working for him who help sell the drugs. One day he arrives at a location where another drug dealer is waiting. This second dealer asks him for his address and questions him about how the business is doing. After getting the answers, the main dealer leaves. Suddenly, we see a group of people chasing a small boy. The boy runs very fast, trying to escape. This boy is our main character. He runs into a quiet, abandoned building and hides there. He checks this building often because he knows drugs are sold here, and he doesn't want more trouble. Inside the building, the man finds a scared little boy named Little. Little is terrified and hiding. The man tells him not to be afraid and says, "I'm leaving now, but you don't have to be scared." He asks Little to come out and says he can stay if he wants to. Then the man tells Little, "I'm going to a restaurant. You can come with me and we'll have lunch." Little agrees and they go together. At the restaurant, the man gives Little a lot of food. He asks him where he lives and says, "I need to drop you home. You can't keep hiding in my building." While eating, Little suddenly becomes upset and angry. The man gently says, "I'm not trying to hurt you." He gives the food back to Little and says, "You can take as much time as you need." Later, the man takes Little to his girlfriend's house. He tells her to talk to Little when night comes. She gives Little dinner and tries to speak with him, but Little stays quiet. She says, "First finish your drink, then we can talk." He listens to her and drinks, but still says nothing. She tells him, "No one is going to force you to talk." Finally, Little says, "My name is Chiron, but you can call me Little Bullet." She replies, "I'll call you by your real name, only." Then he speaks a little more and admits he doesn't want to go home yet. She tells him, "You can stay here for the night. I'll take you home in the morning." The next day, the man, whose name is Juan, takes Little home. Little's mother is very upset. She yells, "You should have come home. Where were you?" Juan feels sad watching this. She tells Juan, "You found him, so now go away." She doesn't let Little say goodbye to Juan and pulls him back inside the house. Inside, she scolds him badly. When Little tries to turn on the TV, she yells again and tells him to go read a book instead. In the next scene, we see Little playing football with his friends. They are all strong and fast, and he struggles to keep up. Feeling left out, Little walks away. His friend Kevin follows him and asks why he left. Little says, "I'm not that interested in playing anymore." Kevin and Little sit and talk. Kevin says, "You're too soft. Sometimes you have to show people you're not weak." Little agrees. Kevin then pushes him and says, "Oh, show me you're not soft." They start play fighting, and Kevin tells him, "This is how you have to deal with others too. You need to learn how to live in this world." Later, Juan takes Little to the beach. They both go into the water, and Juan teaches Little how to swim. Afterward, they sit on a beach sign and talk about their childhood. Juan shares a memory. "One night we were playing on the block and breaking the rules. I met a girl who told me that when black people walk under moonlight, their skin glows blue. She started calling me Blue." Little asks, "Is your name Blue?" Juan says, "No, my name isn't Blue. You can't let someone else decide who you are or what you become. You have to decide that for yourself." That night, Juan walks Little home and gives him some pocket money. But when they reach the house, Little's mother slams the door in Juan's face. There's a man standing with her inside. Little's friends keep bullying him. They never let him rest, always picking on him and bothering him. The night is dark, and the sound of the streets mixes with flashing lights and quiet movement. A young boy stands on a stage-like spot, watching everything. Beside him, his Juan stands on the sidewalk, telling him not to let anyone smoke in this area. He says the people who sell drugs are slowly taking away blessings from this place, and no one should find out. After giving this warning, Juan gets scared for a moment. Later, he is seen in a car, smoking a cigarette. He quickly puts it out and goes to deal with a problem nearby. Inside the car, he sees Little's mother doing drugs with a man. Both are smoking. Juan scolds them. Later, Little's mother becomes irritated. Juan tells her Little is different. He has a soft nature, and because of this, he often gets picked on. He is still too young to understand what's happening, and someone needs to tell him the truth. His mother insists that it's not her job to explain everything. One morning, Juan finds Little sitting at the edge of a table. He tells Little to sit in the center so he can see everyone clearly. Little sits and says he hates his mother. Juan says he used to hit his mother too, but as he got older, he realized it was wrong. Now he misses her deeply. Little then asks what it means when people call him Packet Bullet. He's heard this nickname and doesn't understand it. The man explains that some people use strange names to make others feel small. Little asks what he truly is. The man says he can't answer that. A woman steps in and says, "No one has the right to call him that." When Little hears this, he gets up and walks away. The story moves through different times in Little's life. The first part is called Little. Now the next part begins. His teenage years. This chapter is named Chiron, showing his shift from being called Little to a new identity. In this part, Chiron is in high school. He is still bullied by the same type of kids who made fun of him as a child. One day in class, the teasing gets worse, and when he reacts, he is sent to detention. There he meets his childhood friend, Kevin. Kevin is also in detention. Chiron asks him why he looks nervous. Kevin admits he got too close to a girl, and now a teacher found out. Kevin doesn't want anyone to know. When Chiron returns home, someone tells him he can't stay there that night because they're expecting company. That means someone is coming over, so Chiron goes to Teresa's house instead. Teresa welcomes him, gives him food, and then drinks alcohol herself. She offers him a drink, like Juan used to give him when he was younger. We learn that Juan has passed away, which means he will live a rough life. Juan was like an older brother to Chiron, a father figure. Chiron keeps his head down while eating. Teresa tells him he doesn't have to live in fear in her house. She wants him to feel proud and safe. She believes true leadership comes from lifting others up. That night, Teresa sets up a bed for him. Chiron falls asleep and dreams about his friend. The next morning, he returns home. His mother is standing outside the locked house, asking him to open the door. She needs money. She looks weak and desperate because she's craving drugs and doesn't have any. She searches Chiron's pockets, trying to take money from him. Later, Chiron goes to his room to work out. His mother tells him he needs to go to school. She says it like it's a routine, but it's clear that she's using it as a way to distract herself from her own pain. She throws him out of the house again. Later, while Little is walking home from school, the couple who had taken him in before sees him and stops him. They ask where he's going, even though they already know. He's heading to Teresa's place. It's been about a month since Teresa took him in. He's gotten used to being around her, and there's a sense of safety when he's with her. At school, something in him starts to shift. He begins saying strange, dirty things out loud. Maybe it's his way of coping. Maybe it's confusion. One of his classmates gets annoyed and asks him if he wants to start trouble. Dieter Little quickly backs down and says he doesn't want any trouble. The classmate leaves him alone. That day, he doesn't go home, and he doesn't go to Teresa either. Instead, he walks to the beach, alone. Kevin finds him there. He's surprised to see him sitting by himself. Kevin always had a nickname for him, Black Bullet. When Little once asked why, Kevin answered, "Because I'm a bullet in love." It didn't make much sense, but it stuck. That day, Kevin gives him a weird gift, a cigarette that had been crushed by a truck. They sit and talk. Kevin tells him how peaceful the wind and the cold feel. It's like the world has paused. Everything feels quiet, still. Little agrees. He says he can hear his own heartbeat. The silence is so deep it makes him cry. Kevin asks him if he's crying, but Little denies it. He says, "People always say I cry too much. They expect me to act a certain way. My classmates, this world, I just want to go somewhere where none of this matters." Then they kiss. It's gentle, strange, real. Afterward, Kevin walks him home. Just before leaving, Kevin asks, "Have you ever done something like this before?" Little says no. Kevin nods and walks away. When Little gets home, his mother welcomes him warmly. She's gentle and kind when she's sober. When she's not using drugs, she can be a good parent. But when she's high or drunk, she becomes someone else. Scary. Unpredictable. That night, she comes into his room and hugs him tightly. There's love in her, but it only comes out when the chaos dies down. The next day at school, things start to fall apart again. Kevin's old classmate, the one who likes to stir up trouble, comes over. He reminds Kevin of a game they used to play. Back then, the classmate would point to someone and Kevin would hit them. If anyone got in trouble, Kevin would take the blame. The classmate tells him, "Let's do it again. This time, the target is Little." School, Little is surrounded by a group of boys. They pressure Kevin to hit him. Kevin throws the first punch. They order Little to stay down, but he gets back up. Kevin hits him again, harder. Little doesn't fight back. The noise catches the attention of school staff. They rush over. Later, we see Little sitting with a counselor. She gently tells him that he can name the people who did this to him if he wants. She makes it clear it's his choice. But Little just looks down and says, "I don't know what I'm feeling." He doesn't say Kevin's name. He doesn't mention anyone. Then he leaves. One day when he walks into his classroom, he sees a chair lying on the floor. One of the boys, the same one who told Kevin to attack him, lifts the chair and slams it into him. He laughs while doing it. But this time, it's too far. The police are called and the boy is arrested. That moment marks the end of a chapter in Little's life. Everything begins to shift. The quiet, fragile boy he once was starts to disappear. Time moves forward, life changes, and the next time we see him, he's no longer Little. He's a man now, stronger, colder, transformed. A product of pain, survival, and silence. The world may not have made room for him, so he built his own. Now he has become Chiron. We are taken into a new time period in his life, which has been symbolically named Black. The significance of this name is not revealed immediately. It's something we only understand at the end of the movie. In this time frame, we see that Chiron, also known as Black, has completely transformed. He's built like a bodybuilder now, strong and confident. He lives in a nice apartment, drives a good car, and has fully stepped into the persona of a street-level drug dealer. In addition to this, he also works as a truck driver, moving through the city quietly, collecting information and taking it all back with him. In a strange way, he's become like a poet, too. Silent, observant, and expressive in his own way. As a child, he was soft-spoken and shy. Now he has developed so much confidence that he can even intimidate others when needed. He doesn't talk much, but when he speaks, he means every word. We find him in his study flat, where one of his clients, Rahim, comes to buy drugs. Rahim comments that the bag seems lighter today, suggesting it's not the full amount. Chiron threatens him slightly, just enough to make a point. Rahim tries to laugh it off, saying he was just joking. He assures Chiron that he's paying him enough and quickly leaves after handing over the cash. That night, Chiron hears a message on his answering machine. It's from his mother. Her voice is calm and gentle, and she asks him to come visit. She says she misses him. Her message feels heartfelt, even though there's still pain between them. She tells him that if he doesn't come tonight, she'll understand. But she still hopes he will. The next day, Chiron receives another message, this time from Kevin. Kevin introduces himself, reminding Chiron that he got his number from him earlier. He asks if Chiron remembers who he is. Chiron replies that he does. Kevin tells Chiron that he's sorry for what happened in the past. He admits that everything went down in the wrong way, and it shouldn't have happened. Kevin, like Chiron, has been through a lot. He also chose a path that led to prison. Now that he's out, he's on probation and working at a diner. He's trying to put his life back together. He invites Chiron to come visit him. He says, "If you're ever in town, I'll cook for you." Chiron doesn't fully understand why Kevin reached out now. Kevin explains that a man came into the restaurant the other day and played a song. That song reminded him of Chiron, and he just had to reach out. So that night, Chiron drives to visit Kevin. But before that, he stops by his mother's rehab center. She's clean now, sober, and trying to live right. She tells him how proud she is of the progress she's made, and encourages Chiron to find his own peace. She admits that she's made mistakes, terrible ones, and she owns up to them. But she believes it's not too late for him. She tells him he has the money and the strength to change his path. As Chiron turns to leave, she stops him and asks him to sit. She looks at him with love and says, "You know I love you, right? I want everything to be good for you." She apologizes sincerely, and then they part ways. Later, Chiron arrives at Kevin's restaurant. Kevin is surprised but happy to see him. He says he didn't recognize him at first. Chiron tells him, "You said you'd cook for me. That's why I'm here." Kevin smiles and says, "Looking at you, it doesn't seem like you're missing meals." But he gets to work and starts cooking for him. He brings out dishes, wine, and everything. Kevin says he doesn't drink anymore. He can't even taste the wine, but Chiron drinks it anyway. The food Kevin prepares is poetic. It reminds Chiron of simpler times, birthed of memories they shared. After dinner, Kevin gets back to work. Chiron stays and talks to him a little longer. At one point, Kevin pulls out his wallet and shows Chiron a picture of his son. He explains that the mother of the child was his high school girlfriend. They married young, had a child, and eventually divorced. Life has changed a lot for him, too. Chiron asks Kevin what happened after they lost touch. Kevin says that after high school, he went down a dark path, got involved with the wrong crowd, even worked for a gangster. Over time, though, he got better at it, made money, and tried to stay out of trouble. Kevin seems surprised to see Chiron doing well, but there's an unspoken connection between them, something deeper than words or time. The shared pain, the love, the silence. They all hang in the air like unfinished poetry. He wasn't ready, not for what he truly wanted. Something inside him had shifted, but the fear of returning to an old version of himself still lingered. People around him had always told him what he could and couldn't do, shaping his beliefs. He'd learned to carry those voices in his head like permanent echoes. It wasn't about ability, it was about identity. He never believed he could become someone else. Until now, Chiron had come to meet Kevin that day for a reason. Not because he needed answers, but because something inside him needed to be heard. Earlier, he had seen a man, someone unknown, playing a song on the street. The melody struck a chord deep in his memory. It reminded him of Kevin. Not just of Kevin's presence, but of their connection. There was something in the lyrics. Two souls drifting apart and finding their way back to each other. It echoed everything they had been through. Later, Kevin picked up the same tune in the quiet of his cabin. That song was playing again, almost like it had been waiting. It wasn't just a song anymore, it had become a symbol of what they shared, a rhythm of broken time, now healing. As the shift ended, Chiron and Kevin drove back to the cabin. The evening sun painted everything gold. The car ride was silent, and warm air and stillness made Chiron feel drowsy. Inside the cabin, Kevin moved through familiar motions, preparing coffee, creating comfort. But his heart was restless. He felt Chiron had changed, and he couldn't quite understand how or why. Kevin remembered who Chiron used to be, restless, impulsive, full of fire, but lost in direction. That image didn't match the quiet man sitting before him now. This Chiron seemed reformed, grounded in something deeper than before. Kevin had known his scars, but now he saw growth. Chiron had risen from something broken. He had changed not because the world asked him to, but because he wanted to. The mistakes of the past no longer defined him. He had let go of the image that had been shaped by others and began carving out his own. What once felt like loss now became space for growth. Kevin saw this and felt the truth in it. He too had spent much of his life living according to other people's expectations. He did what was expected, not what he truly wanted. He had followed rules, stuck to what was safe, and avoided conflict. And in doing so, he had buried parts of himself, parts he thought he had lost forever. When he asked himself what he lived for now, the answer was clear. His son. Kevin had finally built the family he had always wanted. Every action, every sacrifice was for the life he was trying to sustain. But there was more than duty here. In Chiron's presence, he remembered something softer, something that went beyond roles and responsibilities. Chiron had touched him in a way no one else had. Not romantically, not dramatically, but deeply. There was a mutual recognition of pain, of growth, of survival. They leaned into each other, wordlessly offering support. That moment didn't need dialogue. The silence spoke volumes. It told a story of two men finding themselves after being lost in different ways, finally recognizing a reflection of their own journeys in each other. Then came a brief flashback, one drenched in color and symbolism. Chiron as a child, small and fragile, trying to find his voice in a world that always told him to be quiet. They had called him Black back then, a nickname that stuck without explanation. Maybe it was for the way he kept to himself, or maybe for the sadness he carried in his eyes. Back then, he didn't know how to face others. He didn't know how to face himself. But time had passed, and the boy once known as Black had changed. He had built an identity, layer by layer, mistake by mistake. Now he could face the world. He had armor, but he was still alone. That is, until he met Kevin again. Kevin didn't make him feel like a stranger. He made him feel seen. The shield he had built around himself didn't need to be torn down. It simply faded away in Kevin's presence. The control that once shaped his life now gave way to vulnerability, to emotion, to trust. Their relationship didn't ask either of them to be perfect. It simply asked them to be present. And just like that, the final frame of the story arrived, quiet, reflective, and filled with emotion. The movie ended not with fireworks or dramatic gestures, but with mutual understanding. Two people, both broken in different ways, found comfort in each other. That was enough. This wasn't just a story about healing, it was about identity, love, the courage to change, and the quiet strength of being truly seen. They had called him Black back then, a nickname that stuck without explanation. Maybe it was for the way he kept to himself, or maybe for the sadness he carried in his eyes. Back then, he didn't know how to face others. He didn't know how to face himself. But time had passed, and the boy once known as Black had changed. He had built an identity, layer by layer, mistake by mistake. Now he could face the world. He had armor, but he was still alone. That is, until he met Kevin again. Kevin didn't make him feel like a stranger. He made him feel seen. The shield he had built around himself didn't need to be torn down. It simply faded away in Kevin's presence. The control that once shaped his life now gave way to vulnerability, to emotion, to trust. Their relationship didn't ask either of them to be perfect. It simply asked them to be present. And just like that, the final frame of the story arrived. Quiet, reflective, and filled with emotion. The movie ended not with fireworks or dramatic gestures, but with mutual understanding. Two people, both broken in different ways, found comfort in each other. That was enough. This wasn't just a story about healing. It was about identity, love, the courage to change, and the quiet strength of being truly seen.